Welcome back to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment YouTube series. We are dedicated to showing advanced tactical use of your troops in Bannerlord, Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord. I've got another big fight coming up, and it seems like a perfect opportunity to display some what I would consider intermediate tactics. Not trying to get too carried away with micromanagement of your troops, and yet still getting the most out of your troops and hopefully leading to a decisive victory. I'm in the Southern Empire right now, causing trouble. They have been attacking my territories for years. I've decided to take the battle to their turf. I'm going to raise a few of their cities if I can and cause some general carnage. But before I do that, I have to defeat this troop, this force that's down here that was probably mustering up to start making a counterattack. So we're going to find out whether or not they're aggressive or not. It is raining, and yes, they are leading right into battle. So it's the Emperor, evidently, too. Yeah, you want to parley. Well, we're not here to parley, dude. We're here to kill. All right, so we're going to have a big battle. Looks like it'll be in the rain. It's hard to tell. Sometimes the environment, it shows it's raining, but we're right at the edge of the rain. If you've never experienced that before, rain does have an effect on the battle. I think it makes archers less accurate, horses slower, and things like that. I'm going to change the damage to half because this looks like it'll be a very long battle, and I want to be able to narrate and command my troops throughout the whole battle so that people watching this can learn some of the fundamentals of fighting and then winning a huge battle. Right, so it's almost 2,000 on 2,000. If you don't understand how Bannerlord works, holy glare. It's a wet battlefield, and for some reason there's the sun shining as well. So this is going to be a really interesting battle. Not only that, I have water I can use, and what I mean by we can use that is that what water does is it slows down troops. Right, so as troops go through rivers, whether they're shallow or especially if they're deep, they move really slowly, right? So we're going to take advantage of that because this army's attacking us. Essentially how things go is they have to come to us. If you attack an enemy, you must go attack them. You must physically march to where they are and fight them. But in this case, they attacked us, and so we have the luxury of sort of setting up where we want and making them approach through whatever it is that's between us and them. The artificial intelligence does not do a really good job of going around terrain. So if there's a huge lake here, you could set up right here and it might march right through the lake. So to that effect, I can actually see even bigger bodies of water way out here. If the enemy, well, they're probably going to beat us to it, but if the enemy doesn't charge aggressively, I may even set up on this ridge here. And the reason, again, is that I want them proceeding at us very slowly through water, which is going to slow them down considerably. On to our troop mix and makeup here. This is pretty important stuff at the intermediate level. You're going to want to make sure you have good captains. It's a little bit of a review. I'm going to spend 30 seconds on this. You want to make sure you have good group captains because that single guy, this companion, he's actually, I think he's the uncle of the character I'm playing. He brings not only the banner effect there, the increased melee damage, but all of these benefits to the troops in his formation, right? That's these 83 guys. He's helping all of those guys. The fourth Archer Corps, which is pretty sizable, that's where a lot of our nobles are, right? That's effectively going to be playing the role of my 8th Corps if you watch my other videos. What we're going to do in this battle is we're going to have a very slight flanking maneuver on the enemy. Normally I flank from the left, from my right. This battle, because of the layout of the land here, I'm going to try to use this left. I'm going to try to position archers with an infantry line ahead of them, and then the main body of troops here, hoping that as the enemy comes and attacks my main body of troops, I can have this side group of enemies, or side group of allies, attacking them on their flank. Right? That's a very powerful, relatively simple tactic to enact. and I'm going to show you today precisely how to do that. Right, so I have my 5th archers up here, led by this fella. They're going to be in the center, right? I actually want to draw the enemy towards the center, right? I'm also going to have my 1st infantry in the center, right? They're going to be sort of providing that shield wall. And my cavalry will also be in the center, right? Now, normally, I've been showing in videos for intermediate level players to drag your cavalry around. We're going to do a combination of the two here. We're going to drag them into battle and also use them as a shield wall for this archer corps, right? Additionally, there's the 3rd infantry, which is, these are skirmishers. That's going to be part of this main corps over here. And let me see here. No, I beg your pardon. I'm going to use the 3rd corps up here on the left, right? So they're going to be part of this flank. If you want to consider this 2 different army groups, I've got the flanking group over here. It's the 3rd and 4th. And in the center, it's the 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 6th. I know that kind of seems like a lot, but this is the next step up from the previous video I made. You're going to have infantry here, this 1st corps, right? They're going to be in shield wall at the river or near the river. Archers behind them, cavalry assisting them, and then over here on this flank, we're going to try to set up a flanking attack, right? So into battle we go. We've got this terrible glare. I guess it's like a rainy day with hints of sunshine shining through. It's a really unique battlefield. I don't think I've ever even been on this map. You can see the enemy's actually a long ways away. If I was willing to run this more than once, in fact, I'm not quite sure how far they are away, so for the short term I'm going to have my troops follow me, because if they have to cross this giant river, okay, see, it might have worked if we had more time. You see how slowly they're crossing that river? It's taking them forever, right? They're shooting at me now. In fact, I kind of have an idea. I thought there was water here. It turns out it was just glare from the rain. We are actually going to try to cross this river. I've got all my troops following me, right? So that's F1 command and followed by the F2 command. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to have the enemy cross this river to attack us to cross this river. Again, because of the tactical component of initiative, when the enemy attacks you, you have the luxury of setting up where you want, right? We could set up on this hill up here and anchor to the hill. In this case, though, what I'm doing is I'm dragging the enemy towards me. I want them on this side of the river. And then as they get closer, I'm going to charge across there to that other side. And we're going to use that deep, shallow spot of the river. Or at least that's my plans, right? You know what they say about best laid plans, right? Always have a plan B. In this case, my plan B would be to fall back here, back to my spot where the reinforcements came out, and then simply wait for reinforcements, right? Now look how slowly the enemy's moving towards us, right? We're just taking our time here. That's because they're trudging through all that water. Alright, now I'm confident enough that much of them have crossed the river and are on that piece of land over there. We cross, and look at how slow this is, right? It is trudging. Half the horses are underwater going across that river, right? That's going to be very difficult for the enemy to cross. In fact, our troops here that are coming up, they're going to be really slow to cross that as well. So with all that in mind, I'm actually going to start setting up some of my forces here.
Horsemen, kill them all!
This is another component that intermediate level players should still be doing. With the new targeting system, you can select a unit. So I select the cavalry, and then you simply click on whoever you want. You see how it's highlighted in green? Whoever's highlighted in green, that's who they're going to attack.
Give them hell, cavalry!
So I'm putting them in shield wall and telling them to attack those horse archers. You can tell they're horse archers because it kind of looks like a horse with a bow on the outside, if you can see that. Alright, and all I'm doing that for is to basically buy time. You can see some of my infantry is just getting to the river now. If we're not careful, if we don't move faster, we're actually going to be the ones that are in the river when this battle starts. We don't want that, right? So my cavalry's doing their job. They're across over there. They're actually killing people. But most importantly, they're sort of buying time for my troops to cross this big river area. It's definitely one of the most unique maps I've ever seen. I've carried a campaign all the way to the very end. And so I might have fought on this map a long time ago, but I sure don't remember it. Alright, so the next thing I'm doing is I'm spreading out my archers, just like I was talking about earlier, and we're actually going to bring them a little bit closer here. Alright, the enemy looks like they're crossing a little bit over here towards our left. Then, I'm spreading out my infantry in a big, long salient right in front of them. Now, it's going to be easier for the enemy to cross right there, right? That's sort of a narrow spot. So we kind of want to focus our firepower potentially on that spot. You see the cavalry now are starting to come back to me. I'm using F1, F2 for follow, right? So the infantry here are spreading out, and now I'm telling them to get into shield wall, right? That'll help them block a lot of arrows. Now our 3rd Corps, our 3rd Division, and our 4th Division, those are going to be my flanking forces, right? And depending on what I'm going to do here is depending on where the enemy enters this river, we're going to use them to flank and hit them in the river itself. Now, right now, they are playing a defensive battle. Even though they attacked me, right? They attacked me before the fight started. You notice they're not crossing the river just yet. And the main reason for that, I think, is that they're aware of the hazard, and they also have horse archers. They have lots of horse archers. Now we're dwindling them down, right? They're walking into our archers here. They're getting pelted with arrows. And of course, they're going across the river slowly. It's not a good recipe for them to attack with horse archers. But nevertheless, they're trying, right? They're into the fray here. If I can, you want to take these banner bearers out, right? He drops his banner, and they lose the bonus from that. Adding a little wrinkle to players, I have now told my units to hold fire. You can actually see what happens. All of these former archers, tell them to fire, right? They're loading up and they're firing. You tell them to hold their fire, and all of them either pull out a shield or pull out their weapon, and they're basically in standby mode, right? They're not attacking, but they're also not wasting arrows. You don't want to shoot arrows if it's just going to land in the dirt, or it's a huge shot all the way across the river. Let the enemy make mistakes like that. That's another Napoleon quote. When the enemy's making mistakes, don't interrupt them. Right? Just let their stupid asses do what they want. Right? So we're going to get a little closer look here to see what the enemy's doing. They have a big squadron of cavalry parked out there with archers, and they're shooting at us. More cavalry there, and then a big block of infantry with archers right next to them. Information is very valuable in war. Oh my god, this is like over his head, the river there. No wonder they're not crossing. I don't blame them. They will eventually, though. Again, the artificial intelligence here is required to attack us. This is one of those situations where if this battle takes 4 hours to play, I will simply reload this battle and shoot it again. For my campaign, I'm not doing that. But for instructional videos on Bannerlord, I'm not going to make you wait an hour and a half for the battle to happen. Alright, it does seem like the enemy's starting to move, right? So we want to move up our troops to perform our flanking maneuver on them. So we're going to do this in 2 ways. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our infantry, not too far out, but we're going to drag them out here into the water, right? Their boots are going to get full of water. They'll be alright. The next thing I'm going to do is behind them somewhat. I'm making a large formation there. I hope you can see it with the glare. That's my 4th Archer Division, right? All those guys are going to be effectively the flank force, and they're in spread formation. The other part now, the enemy is clearly vulnerable in the river, and so it's time for us to open fire, right? They're moving slowly. They're having a hard time with it. The last thing we're going to do is this big cavalry wall, we're going to have them follow us. What I want to do now is I want to delay the enemy even more, right? They're moving slowly. We're going to drive right through their fucking infantry. You have to pardon my language, former military, plus swearing when I kill people makes me feel more badass. Alright, so we're plowing through them. They're being hammered by archers. Now what I'm going to do is this 3rd Division, they are going to collapse on the enemy at the same time as the rest of our infantry. I'm sending the cavalry off just to attack. Right? It's kind of a scrum in there. It's probably a little bit difficult to see what's happening. I can slow it down here a little bit. So the infantry, the 3rd infantry is right in there, and the 1st infantry is here, and the enemy's about to reach our infantry, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have both of these divisions attack at the same time. Now for the enemy, it's very bad, right? They are now pinned between 2 different forces. They're being pounded with arrows, right? They've got cavalry on them as well. And unfortunately for them, their archers are way on the other side of the river, not really doing a whole lot for this battle, right? My archers are still firing, but critically, their infantry is getting hit on 2 different sides. It's really 3, because the cavalry's in here attacking as well, right? Holy shit, I'm literally underwater. I didn't even know they made maps like this. Alright, you can see the death spam up there. This is a complete massacre because their infantry essentially just ran into the jaws of a trap, right? These guys on this flank, these archers, are just firing away. Nothing's escaping. In fact, I'm going to widen the flank here. I'm going to tell that group, this 4th group, to go across the river, right? And what we're doing here is the enemy forces that are now probably quite disturbed, right? Their forces are drowning or getting obliterated. They're actually in a full-out retreat. I mean, it's more than likely a reorganizing process. They probably realized that was their commander's an idiot. He's fired. They're bringing the next guy up, right? So, for the sake of instructional purposes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have all of my units follow me. I don't think they're going to rout completely, but that was an awful thing for their battle to experience, right? Their troops, if that happened in real life, you know, you'd be throwing your uniform on the ground and going and getting married somewhere. You'd be out of there. All right, we lost. We have 15 guys injured, 5 dead, and they have like at least 10 times that, almost 20 times that. It just flat out seems like they're fleeing. I think they're still regathering for another attack. And what that's going to allow us to do, as long as I haven't strung my forces out too much. See, I'm dragging my own forces through the water here. What we're going to do is we're going to plan basically the exact same attack, just on land out here a little bit. We're going to do it so that it's a little bit easier for you to see. That's another tip you need to know about. All of your units will stay in whatever formation you tell them to stay in when they're following you, right? Or when you're moving them. So if you tell your units to enter a square formation, right? Like I could have this cavalry advance up here and then enter a square formation, and you then tell them to move, well, they're going to do their very best to move in that square formation. It's not a very good, not a very fast moving formation, right? So when you're moving, like in this instance we're moving a lot, you want to pull your units out of whatever formations they're in and actually put them into what's called line formation. You hit the unit number, in this case they're the cavalry, say they're in a square, right? These guys are all going to put asses and elbows right next to each other. If I were to move them, they're going to now stay in that square. We don't want them in a square. That's way too slow. So we're going to do line formation. So you hit their unit formation, which is F2, and then tell them F1, and that's line, right? Alright, so the enemy does look like they've gotten their shit together. All the cowards have fled, and we've got another battle coming. So we're going to use this elevated spot right here. We're still going to flank. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my 5th archers right here between the rocks, right? Always use physical barriers if you can, right? These rocks provide basically protection on both sides. You have like the strongest possible flanking guards on both sides, right? Mother Nature, big fucking rocks. You're going to be safe, right? So I just told my cavalry to follow me, and if you didn't see it, I told my infantry to line up right in front of the archers there, right? Yeah, the enemy still kind of holding back. I guess they're slowly getting their shit together. We're going to send the cavalry way off over there. Now the 4th archers I'm going to set up again here on the flank. The rocks are over there where the other troops are. We're going to set up the 4th archers and my skirmishers.
Shoulder to shoulder.
And again, shoulder to shoulder, which is sort of command short for line formation. Those guys are starting to get in formation, right? And these guys are in formation. Once they're in formation, then you can put them in shield wall.
Hold arrow, every fire, every hold fire.
So I'm going to have them hold arrows here until they get a little closer. You can generally have your units firing all the time, but once you get better, you will get more comfortable shooting as the enemy is getting closer to you. The next thing I'm going to do is sort of scout with my cavalry, but we're also going to make some attacks, right? I told you earlier we would use them to position. In this case, we're actually going to drag them through the enemy lines. I want these guys a little closer. I'm moving my 4th archers just a little closer. See how they're on the other side of that rock? If they can't see the enemy, they won't shoot. They'll just stand there. Alright, so that's my infantry on the flank, so let's put these guys close to them. Getting back to it, so I got my cavalry here. And my cavalry, all we're going to do here is drive them through like they're a big reckless Amtrak train right through the enemy's formation. If you want to get really fancy, you can do formation F2 and then skein, which makes basically a big angular attack for the cavalry. Then all you do is drag them right through. I should have gone slower so you could see what was going on. But once you drag them through, they kind of do the rest for you. If they can spear a guy, they'll do so. If they can just run guys over like that, it's quite effective, right? Knock those guys on the ground. Now they're being shot with arrows, right? This is before the enemy even gets to you. If you can do some damage with your cavalry like that, it'll definitely benefit you. So we're going to stick our cavalry now up on that ridge, and now the enemy's within sight. It's time to open fire, right? You see all the infantry or all the archers now drop their bows. One little last clue. Your own line formations or your shield walls can actually blockade your cavalry. This 3rd Infantry Corps was in a strong shield wall, and it was really slowing down the enemy from pursuing. Okay, now the archers are shooting. The enemy's really concerned. They just don't know where to attack. They're playing very defensive. In fact, if they don't start moving soon, we'll just get aggressive. It's difficult for inexperienced or less experienced players to move formations like this. It's one thing to set them up, like you can set up these formations pre-battle. It's a whole nother thing to have to set it up, in real time while the enemy's sitting there. But if they sit there another minute or so, that's what I'm going to do. This is a skill you should work on. Getting shot to death like I am, that's a good skill. Now, what you should work on is and that's what they want us to attack, by the way. They want us to come barreling into that nasty arrow fire. Well, we're not gonna, at least not yet. The skill that I was saying you should work on before I almost got killed is either throwing javelins into the mass of troops, right? You'll learn the range and the speed eventually. There's 1,000 arrows following me, it's alright. Or, if you're an archer or a crossbowman, coming by and shooting them with your bow. Like these are definitely skills you need to master at the intermediate level. Alright. This insolent, slow-ass, lazy-ass force does not seem interested in attacking. So this is a lot harder for an intermediate player, but we're still gonna show this to you. Right? Now they want me to come over this ridge, so we're gonna suffer some losses, but we're gonna do this as strategically as we possibly can. Right? We're gonna move up the 5th archers. That front shield wall, the 1st infantry, will move slowly in shield wall, but the key there is they'll be able to come over that ridge without getting annihilated by the archers. You'll lose some guys, right? Not every guy's holding a great shield, but that'll prevent them from suffering big losses. Meanwhile, I have the 3rd infantry is on F1, F2, follow, right? We're still going to try to flank this group. So the other archers are coming over here to the side. Your spatial awareness will improve the more you play, right? Like I've done this a lot. I'm plenty aware of what to do. Now I'm going to add in one other wrinkle here. This is starting to get more on the advanced side of things. I've got this big block of cavalry. I just told them to enter shield wall. So F2, F2, right? They're in this big wall, and it slows them down dramatically, right? So what I'm actually going to do with these guys, you can see the enemies right there. I don't want them to attack here. All I want them to do is run through. That's all I want. I just want this big block of cavalry holding up shields to run through here, okay? Now, when that happens, they're going to be getting shot at. That's fine. When that happens, we're going to use them as sort of a distractionary shield. They're going across. They're getting shot at. I'm creeping up here behind them. I'm going to take my archers, and you drag their formation down. And then I'm going to take... Sorry, that was the infantry. I'm dragging the first infantry down. I'm moving the archers up, and then I'm moving archers up on this side and moving this infantry up, right? Now that cavalry has spooked the enemy. You see how they're kind of running all over the place? I'm still just going to leave them running through there, though. What I want to do, my plan here is when the cavalry is basically on the other side and the enemy's getting pounded by different arrows from these sides, then we're going to attack and just totally collapse on all sides here. If you have a shield, your shield should be up right now. So I just told my cavalry to attack. The timing is something you'll get used to, right? My infantry divisions aren't quite there. My archers are definitely starting to shoot, though, right? There's a lot of arrows flying, even though a lot of them are out of ammo. Here come the cavalry. Cavalry are coming. So these archers, or those, the first infantry charges, and the third infantry charges as well, right? Everybody just gets sandwiched in the middle, right? It's an enemy sandwich. If you want to really make it resounding, especially if your archers are out of arrows, if it looks like they're just standing there, you can either drag them and send them right into battle, or you can say, hey, archers, attack. Same thing with these archers. Hey, archers, attack, right? And now, I mean, talk about overkill. All your divisions are essentially sandwiching this little insolent, pathetic enemy force, and in addition to crying, they're dying, right? This is just a catastrophe for the enemy, right? So at this stage, the enemy's running, pursue them, right? This is really what cavalry were for after about the 13th century. After the 13th century, guns and cannons just completely started devastating cavalry, but they were tremendously valuable in like the Napoleonic Wars for their ability to pursue the enemy, right? Guys that are fleeing are simply ran over by archers, right? Ran over by cavalry. I get my units confused because I'm so used to playing with the set process that I have now. So I just moved all my units up behind me. The cavalry are sort of attacking. At this stage, the cavalry aren't there anymore to destroy the enemy. They're being sent in to sort of disrupt things so that my forces that are moving into formation have a chance to do exactly that, to move into formation, to prepare for the final blow here, right? So we're moving our infantry up kind of aggressively at this stage because the enemy is quaking. They're very uncomfortable. You've seen me do it before. I'm moving my cavalry behind the enemy, right? Our archers are pounding away. Our infantry is mangling their horses. Then you send both infantry units to attack, right? F1, F3. And then finally the cavalry attacks as well, right? And we will join this just to put the nail in the coffin in this ugly slaughter, right? This was a sad attempt by the enemy to fight today. And partly, again, though, that is our combination of tactical approach, right, of using the river. If you move slowly, you're not doing much damage. You're highly vulnerable to archers, and you're just you're fish in a barrel to an enemy that knows how to exploit that advantage, right? That disadvantage, right? I'm going to be doing a few more of this series of, I guess, what I'm going to title intermediate tactics, right? I hope you enjoy. We'll be doing, obviously, some more advanced stuff as well. At this stage, by the way, you can take all units and just tell them F3, right? Yeah, let's get some not so loud music going. All right. Hopefully everything was pretty easy to hear. I've been working on my volume. I understand when troops when troops are yelling and the enemy's screaming and stuff like that, it can get pretty loud. And in fact, just for this last little bit, I'm going to ride out of the battle just so you can hear everything I'm saying. I plan on having at least 2 or 3 more videos like this. I had original template of 5 battles where I was going to highlight sort of some intermediate level tactics and help help players that are getting good at Bannerlord but still need some help. Help them sort of get through that final barrier where they can really start to dominate the game, feel like they themselves are an expert, and go out and crush guys in their world. Right? Like, we're having fun. I'm here to help you have fun, to help you get better. It's not like I'm preparing you for real life. Although a flank attack on a double date, it does work pretty well. You'll have to trust me that from experience. All right, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned a little bit, maybe even a lot. And if you have any requests, please feel free to send them in the comments, and I'll do my best to fulfill them. As some people have heard, I got a really mild case of shingles. It's kind of an itchy, uncomfortable virus, but it's not affecting me too bad, and I've got some lovely pain meds. The net effect, though, is that I'll have plenty of time to help you slaughter the opponent and post some more videos on Bannerlord tactics. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And I mean, holy cow! Before I go, look at the. Let's see the death. There's so much death I can't even read it all. Look at how lopsided this was. We had fairly equal battle sizes, and we lost 80 men, and they lost 1,900. Even though I was kind of playing, I don't want to say playing nice, but I wasn't full throttle. I wasn't in there slaughtering people the whole time, and it was still. I mean, that is about as lopsided a victory as you can get, and it shows you the value of tactics, right? I mean, we killed 2,000 basically, and they killed 100. I mean, that's the kind of thing you can do, folks, and hopefully this kind of video will help you get there. Thanks again. See you next time.